Worldwide, more than 5 million people suffer from Parkinson's disease, a disorder that causes debilitating shakes and tremors and can make the simplest tasks impossible. I'm Yasmin Qureshi in Pittsburgh, USA, where treatment called deep brain stimulation is changing lives and bringing much-needed relief. We've come to the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, one of many research hospitals in the United States where doctors are performing a groundbreaking surgery. They implant electrodes in the brains of patients with Parkinson's disease. So toe in the front.
Doing deep brain stimulator placement for a patient named Paul Halball, who's a 70-year-old man with Parkinson's disease.
Why are we doing this surgery?
The disease for every Parkinson's patient is at some point going to progress beyond the ability of the medication to control symptoms. And when patients reach that stage, many of them will be candidates for deep brain stimulation surgery. Here's Paul's brain, at least part of it. And this is an area of the brain called the subthalamic nucleus. There's one on each side. It's this kind of almond-shaped structure.
Deep brain stimulation is primarily being used to treat the symptoms of movement disorders. But already in Europe, it's approved for treatment of epilepsy, and clinical trials are underway for Alzheimer's, depression, and drug abuse.
Part of the testing that we'll do in the operating room is to ensure that we're in this nucleus, the subthalamic nucleus, and not in any of these other pathways that might give Paul bad side effects from stimulation.
So you got to get it right.
We got to get it right, and we're going to get it right. Okay, Paul. Welcome to the operating room. Ready to go?
I'm ready.
You're going to do that as fast as you can.
Once the surgery is done, what are you hoping will change?
I want to go back pitching baseball with 90 miles an hour. I want to be all for this, and I want to show other people that there's a better way in life.
Let's get started.
The risks of Paul's brain surgery are relatively low. There's a 1% chance of serious complications and a 5% chance of infection.
Good, Phil? You happy? The screws are tight?
So behind me, Paul is being prepped for deep brain stimulation. And Dr. Richardson is actually going to drill a hole in his skull the size of a nickel to place the electrodes in. Paul is sedated for this part of the surgery, but the doctors will wake him up when the electrode is inserted.
X marks the spot for the burr hole. So this is where we're going to drill. We can move ahead.
After drilling the hole, Dr. Richardson inserts a recording device to listen in to the neural activity of Paul's brain. The doctors are confident that they've found a specific area that's responsible for movement and the target for the stimulating electrode.
At the tip of this very thin wire are 4 contacts. With the programmer, we can determine the frequency and voltage and amplitude of this stimulation.
So it really is a pacemaker for the brain.
It's a pacemaker for the brain. And we're ready to insert this in the brain. Yeah. Okay, so we're connected.
Are you done?
I'm not finished.
Not
I'm
yet.
gonna come around this way and test, and then I'll scrub back in for the other side. Excellent. Hold that hand out in the air. And bring it in close to your chest. And hold it out again.
The first electrode was inserted on the left side of Paul's brain, which is responsible for movement on the right side of his body.
That's great. This feels free, and this one feels like it's all tensed up.
So Paul, just move your foot up and down. How does that feel to you?
That's good.
He wasn't experiencing anything in terms of a sensation, but what he was experiencing was the fact that his tremor that he's lived with for over 6 years now has just stopped.
Depending on the patient, the deep brain stimulator can be effective for as long as 10 years. Chef Tony Pies had the surgery a year ago. Before the operation, his head and right hand shook uncontrollably, making it impossible for him to run a kitchen. Tony's electrodes are powered by a battery pack that's implanted in his chest and was connected during a second operation.
This time, the doctors turned my battery on. Becky cried and said, "I saw the Parkinson's leave your body."
Becky is your wife?
Before the operation, I was taking 6 pills a day.
So you went from
6 to 2.
The idea that we're implanting an electrical device in people's brains and altering and improving their brain function is really a remarkable thing to be able to do.
Ching ching. The doctor believes that while deep brain stimulation surgery is not a cure, the treatment is being underutilized. He says he's seen drastic, almost unbelievable improvements in the most severe cases of Parkinson's.
Okay, hi David. How are you?
Every day it was like a little bird trying to fly. It was just, you had so many tremors and you just have to wait until the medication kicked in, started to work, and now that's not a problem.
David's agreed to let us turn off the stimulator, so we'll start by just turning off the stimulator in the right brain, and so we expect to see his tremor come back on the left side. This is what David was dealing with every day, and this was only slightly controlled on medication compared to what you see here. And you can see how uncomfortable he is, which is why we're going to turn this back on. Thanks, David. And then now the simulator's back on.
How does it feel for you, David, when you have the electrode turned off?
Not good. It feels you're helpless, truly helpless. For the initial visit with the doctor, I said, "Can you have this done before my daughter's surgery, before my daughter's wedding?" He said, "When is that?" And I said, my sister said, June 22nd.
Here's the video.
Did you take that?
Yes.
That's why we did it. She's my only daughter. This is something that I've always waited for. I've always said, I've had Parkinson's for about 11.5 years. I've said, you know, there will be a cure someday, but this is my cure for now.